Hare Krishna. So Shaunagrishi Prabhu's
Hare Krishna. Yep. So first, before we start, I want to congratulate Shaunagrishi Prabhu and his entire family for moving into his new home. Okay, so he took this flat. I think this is first he has been moving to different places. You know, he was on rent initially somewhere in, I think, what was that, BT Kavde Road. Then he came here. He was Amar Gaur Prabhu's tenant for some time. I hope, all the dues are settled properly. And the advance is also returned from Amar Gaur Prabhu's side. Makan Malik lete hai advance, 1 lakh rupees, deposit. The very fact that Amar Gaur Prabhu is here means that, I'm just saying, we congratulate you on moving to the new home, but at the same time, I'm saying that I hope all dues are settled with Amar Gaur Prabhu, your previous Makan Malik. Okay. So it's always a very big achievement for a grahastha to, purchase a flat and move in. Perhaps all of us know, we have all gone through that in some way. So it's a very big achievement. Anyway. So actually tomorrow is Gaur Purnima. So I emailed the topic and had prepared this only. But then later I felt, tomorrow is Gaur Purnima and we are speaking something else. But anyway, it's okay, whatever. Since we decided, we will stick to the plan. So basically, no, I don't want it. I can see and I have control over here. No. I don't know, it doesn't work. Most of the time, most of the technology fails actually last minute. But it's okay. We'll see. It's a very interesting topic. At least, so we heard this from Govind Prabhu last Sunday. He basically presented, he's been presenting this in Bombay in several places, themes from Bhagavad Gita. And the first theme that he presented was duality or dvandva, which comes in Bhagavad Gita. So here we go. So, I just tried to make it like a question and answer because I felt that when we put some questions initially, then it kind of gives an idea as to what we are addressing. So I just tried to think about what is the purpose of this topic, why are we discussing this. So these are the questions that we hope to answer. The first one, how often are we stuck with indecision or frustration? Okay, that means if any of these are our questions in life, then hopefully our seminar today will answer these questions. So how often we are stuck with indecision or frustration and not being able to make a decision. Then the second one, are we too restless in our decision making process? That means restless as in, do we keep changing things too much? Again, there is connection to that in what we are going to touch on today. So I'm just putting all these questions. The third question, do we imagine that any decision, even for God's sake, as in, even if somebody says, I'm doing it for Krishna, I'm doing it for the devotees, do we imagine that any such decision also does not invite consequence? As in, do we imagine that if we do anything for the sake of God, we will not get consequences or reaction of that? Do we imagine like that? If we imagine like that, then again today's seminar will answer something. You understood? Like somebody may feel that if I have done it for Krishna, then Krishna takes reaction, na? I should not get reaction. मुझे तो reaction ही नहीं मिला, मैं तो भगवान के लिए किया, खुद के लिए किया ही नहीं मैंने. अकर्म बोलते बराबर, फिलोसफी में हम अकर्म बोलते हैं उसको, करेक्ट? तो अकर्म मतलब क्या? नो कर्मा. तो नो कर्मा मतलब नो रिएक्शन. Then another one question. As such, I'll post the PPT in case anybody wants to, these points. So you need not, they're not some very rocket science points that I put, so I'll post it. Do we get carried away with our or others' decisions or strategies and forget to balance out? That means, sometimes in life what happens is that we see somebody doing something and we think that मुझे भी वैसे ही करना चाहिए. You understood, na? Like somebody is doing something in a particular way and we think that we should also do it like that. do we forget to tolerate the consequences of any decision taken by us in the world? So that's another thing. And then the final one, what is the basis of our decisions, right or wrong? Oh, so that part went down, but I think it is it based on dharma, etc. So these are some of the questions that we are going to answer today, right? So, and as always, this topic is really kind of, something that's going to churn our system. And in the chaos of all our beautiful children making wonderful sounds, we have to be able to hear it, right? Prabhujis will have to come ahead. There are some more devotees who have joined us. I was thinking next time what I will do, I'll do away with the LCD. We've started a new thing in our college. All the teachers, what we do is, our PPT, we WhatsApp it to all our students, and all our students sit with their mobile phone, and we keep saying slide 1, slide 2, slide 3. So this whole thing is not required. I suddenly realized, why don't I do this here? Here also everybody has mobile and WhatsApp. हाँ, क्लास में बच्चे वैसे भी मोबाइल लेके आते हैं, प्रभु जी. आपको क्या लगता है? ऐसा कौन है वो बाबाई प्रीपेड, याद नहीं क्या? यस माता जी. हाँ, no, I don't want to enter such a deadly domain. काउंसलर के नाम पे माताएं बिल फाड़ेगी. काउंसलर का इंस्ट्रक्शन था कि आईफोन चाहिए बेटी के लिए, कृपया करके 75,000 का आईफोन 7 प्लस जो नया आया हुआ है मार्केट में दे दीजिए. 75,000 में है आईफोन 7s प्लस. हाँ, यही परवड़ेगा अपने को, चलेगा, कोई बात नहीं. So here are the questions that we are trying to answer today. So I hope at least some question syncs with some of you, right? You feel okay with some of the questions. Yeah, okay. So let's go ahead. So basically we start from Bhagavad Gita because we said it's Bhagavad Gita. So we all know verse number 2.14, Bhagavad Gita. So you can recite behind me. Matra sparshastu kaunteya शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखदाः आगमापायिनो नित्य तां स्थितिक्षस्व भारत. Yeah, so matra sparshastu kaunteya. So Krishna is saying that any contact with the sense and sense object, the contact between sense and sense object one has to tolerate. So Krishna is giving examples. Shita Ushna, heat, cold, Sukha Dukkha, happiness, distress. Why one should tolerate? Agama apayino. It comes and it goes. Hence, tam stitikshasva. Titiksha means tolerate. Bharata. So we know Prabhupada's translation also by and large. The appearance and, what is that? Non-disappearance of heat and, happiness and distress is like heat and cold. And one must learn to tolerate such situations. So I think in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about, gives examples like how a woman has to cook in the kitchen, even during the summer season when it is hot, and a man has to take bath in the winter season in the morning, even if it is very cold. So basically, the point which we understand from that verse is that one has to tolerate the heat, cold, etc. So this verse, of course, is, this basic understanding. That means that we have to raise this. Iska height banana hai. Wow, that's a fantastic. I don't know whether it will happen. Oh, that. I don't know where it is. It's okay, leave it. It's fine. It's too difficult. Some things are too difficult. It's okay. That's not very important. Changing that is not so important. It will capture me, that's fine. Yeah, fine. Okay, fine. Thank you. Yeah. So basically, I think we are all just settled. Finally, it is 7 o'clock and we are starting our meeting. I mean, this topic, Govind Prabhu did it for 3 hours with all of us. So I'm not sure, 1.5 hours. Let's see how much that's why I made a PPT of just 8 slides where I kind of summarized the most important parts of it. So hopefully we'll be able to convey all the points. So the point is, from this verse of Bhagavad Gita, we generally look at it in one way from the gross perspective. That heat, cold, pain, happiness have to be tolerated. But this verse is said to be applicable in all kinds of situations. That is, the first thing we need to understand from this verse is, the main point that this verse teaches is, in this material world, as long as we are living in this world, whether we are a devotee or not, in any situation that we encounter, there will be good and bad. In the good, there will be bad, and in the bad, there will be good. That means, though Krishna says heat and cold, but it is not very binary. It is not that heat and cold means somebody will like the heat or somebody else will like the cold. No. In the heat also, there will be some pleasure, and in the heat also, there will be pain. And in the cold also, there will be pleasure, and in the cold also, there will be pain. That means advantage and disadvantage will exist in every situation. Okay, so that means no matter what kind of decision or path we take in our life, in any of those situations, there will be simultaneously something good and something terrible. Simultaneously. And we will see many examples. I have listed at least 20 examples. So, from his talk only, but by and large, I have listed 20 examples. So very soon we will come to the examples. So it will become very clear that in every situation, so basically this comes in the Mahabharata also, where Bhishma is telling Yudhishthira that there is nothing in the world that is absolutely advantageous or disadvantageous. That means in any situation there is a plus also and minus also, simultaneously. So what is it that we have to tolerate? We have to tolerate the minus. That means no matter which path we take, just like I was thinking, somebody was telling me that if you have a flat facing west side, there is a lot of wind, like we are seeing here, fantastic breeze, it's great. But then someone else told me that, no, it's not like that. There is breeze, but then when there is rain, the rain or water also comes in a lot. You understood? So this looks very pleasurable in one sense. Of course, I'm not all glories to Shaunak Rishi Prabhu's new home, but I'm just using this in my example, that it looks great in a way that there is fantastic breeze, that's coming. We are all experiencing it. But at the same time, in this breeze, in this system of something facing west, there is a plus and there is a minus, both simultaneously. So we have to tolerate the minuses. So that's also how you can see this verse. So Shita Oshna Sukha Dukkha Daha means there is Sukha and Dukkha in Shita also, and there is Sukha and Dukkha in Ushna also. And you have to tolerate it. Okay, so the basic point is, there is a flip side to any decision in life, and that is the Dvandva. So Dvandva means what? Like a conflict, duality. That means anything, there is a flip side to it. If you do this, it is nice, but then there is a flip side to it. There is a flip side to qualities as well. Like for example, determination, noble qualities, being very innocent, being very kind-hearted. Uska bhi ek flip side hai. You understood? So that means it's not only decisions, it's not only objects, even qualities. Everything in this material world is said to be Dvandva. There is a Dvandva in it. That means there will be some things in it which appeal, and something else will give trouble simultaneously. And you always keep getting. That is the nature of the material world. That is what Krishna is saying. Krishna has defined the material world. That is why this place is called as a place of Dvandva, duality. Yeah, it's an axiom. This world is that. So that is why Krishna is not saying that. Krishna is telling Arjuna, Tam Stitikshasva. Just tolerate it. Because the thing is, so basically the point is, yeah, the spiritual world is not having duality. Only in this world it is. Because, see, you want to enjoy through the body, right? You want to become the Lord. There only there is a Dvandva, right? Originally. Correct? We want to become the Lord and Master. Wahi Dvandva aa gaya. Originally we are servant, but we want. So there is a contradiction. Yeah, so in that everything will come. So this world is defined like that. So basically this world is all about what we call as choosing the lesser of the two evils. Okay, choosing the lesser of the two evils. That means the whole point is, rarely in situation, there will be a situation where we are going to fight against Duryodhan. See, fighting against Duryodhan is a very clear thing, ना? दुर्योधन को तो मारना ही पड़ेगा. मतलब किसी को डाउट नहीं है कि दुर्योधन को मारना है, दुर्योधन को छोड़ना है. दुर्योधन को तो मारना ही है. लेकिन भीष्म सामने आ जाते हैं. फिर द्वंद्व हो जाते हैं. अरे इनको कैसे क्या मारे? You're caught. On one hand, you want to kill him, because only if you kill him, you can kill Duryodhan and your goal is achieved from Pandava's perspective. But if you kill him, there is a sadness. You understood? So in every situation in the world, it is like that. So obviously, this is the connection to the, the previous, all these questions that. So basically, these questions I only raised in the beginning. But once we are done with our whole topic, I'll again come back to this slide. And seeing this topic, we will answer all these questions. Our goal is actually to answer these 6 questions today. ये 6 question answer करने के लिए हम आज शाम को यहाँ पर आए हुए.
For one who is following dharma.
That is what actually what has happened is there were 2 more questions. It will come. Don't worry. That means even one is escape करो. Yeah. So what is the basis of our decisions, right or wrong? Based on gunas or dharma. So ये आ रहा है, right? Just do F5. F5. नहीं. F5 is supposed to come. Oh great, I think everything came now. And what should we pray to Krishna? Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Krishna आ रहा है ना हमारे slide में. तो ये हमारे 7 प्रश्न हैं actually. Yeah, there are 7 questions. So we'll answer it one by one, right? So first we will now, so now obviously we have defined something called Dvandva. So you will wonder, ये Dvandva कहाँ पर है? So we'll give some 10-20 examples, and I'm sure immediately all of you will get so many examples in your life also, which are all Dvandva only, basically. Because life is full of Dvandva, right? So let's start with them. So first we will see examples from scripture, and then also we will see examples from modern life or real life. So I have written maybe 20 examples. Then I'll come to that, don't worry. I remember. वो थोड़ा बाद में आता है. So sometimes what happens when we type the PPT, वो flow gets rectified when you speak. We'll come to it. Yeah. So first we will see examples from Ramayana and Mahabharata. So we'll just say simple ones. Okay. Just like for example, the first one, Bharata and his 9 sons. We all know the story, right? That our land is called as Bharata because of this king, Bharata. And what did this Bharata do? He had 9 sons. And none of his sons were qualified. So he knew that अगर इनको मैं जीवित छोड़ूंगा तो ये लोग बाद में बहुत प्रॉब्लम करेंगे. So he adopted another boy and made him king. But then he ordered the death of his 9 sons. You understood? Yeah. Because अगर वो चले गए और किसी और adopted बच्चे को राजा बनाए, 9 लोग उसको थोड़ी छोड़ेंगे, खा जाएंगे ना उसको, वो राजा को. So try to understand. Bharat has 9 sons. He's a king, right? He's a king. He is going to take Vanaprastha now. He has to make somebody the king. His sons are all unqualified. He has 9 of them. So what to do? He adopted a 10th boy, the son of someone else, and made him the king. But then these 9, will they allow him to continue? No. So that's what India is called Bharata. Such a great personality who really thought only about the kingdom. Now the whole point in Dvandva is, now let's try to imagine from Bharat's perspective. Is it a very easy decision to take? That means this decision of ordering the death of his sons, if you carefully observe, on one level it is good for the kingdom. But on there is a conflict, na? On a personal level there is a problem, there is a serious disadvantage. Obviously anybody still has affection for his offspring. But still he has to do it. What to do? You understood the point? In the decision there is a conflict, there is a द्वंद्व. कुछ भी किया तो उसमें एडवांटेज भी है, डिसएडवांटेज भी है. बच्चों को छोड़ दिया, उसके लिए एडवांटेज है. As in, yeah, this is द्वंद्व only, no problem. अभी द्वंद्व का लेक्चर है तो थोड़ा द्वंद्व होना चाहिए ना. This LCD is, yeah. So the point is, see, if he leaves his 9 sons, if he keeps them alive, it is nice for his personal life. But then for the kingdom there is a disadvantage. If he puts them to death, there is a disadvantage for his personal life, But for the kingdom, it is advantageous. There is a dvandva, there is a conflict. There is good and bad both in every decision. Okay, then on what basis to take, we will see that later. But the point is, you have to take the decision. Okay? So let's look at another one. For Arjuna to fight Bhishma, there was a dvandva, right? It was not an easy decision to fight Bhishma. On one hand, he had love for his grandfather. Correct? He loved his grandfather very much. So he did not want to kill. But on the other hand, he had to kill. And please remember, the dvandva is not solved after you take the decision. मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि एक बार हमने decision ले लिया तो द्वंद्व solve हो गया, नहीं. भीष्म को मारने के बाद भी Arjuna is feeling bad. Or when he goes to meet Bhishma on his deathbed, on the bed of arrows, he's crying. He's thinking that I killed my grandfather just to get a throne. See how condemned I am. You understood? You have to undergo that conflict. ये करूं कि ये करूं, और किया तो भी उस पर प्रश्न चलते रहते. You understood? वो लेने के बाद भी वो द्वंद्व सॉल्व नहीं होता है, कंटिन्यू चलता रहते हो. So that is actually द्वंद्व, and you have to tolerate that. See, that's what Krishna is saying. Tam titikshasva bharata. Right? Because no matter what decision you take, there is a negative to it, there is a pain in the heart, there is a misery in that decision, but you have to tolerate that pain and keep going ahead. If you don't tolerate, what happens? That we will see at the end when we answer all the questions. Correct? लेकिन वो करना पड़ेगा, tolerate करना पड़ेगा. That is tham titikshasva bharata. Make sense? So we'll just go to some more examples. Just like, victory to the Pandavas. We all know that Pandavas won the war and they became the kings of Hastinapur. But do we think that it was a very easy victory for them? No. They lost all their sons. Draupadi lost all her sons, just like Gandhari lost all her sons. They lost their grandchildren also. Only one, Parikshit, that also because he was in the womb, and that also was killed, and later he came to life by Krishna's mercy. एक ही बच गया बस, बाकी सब मारे गए. So that means it is nothing like you're enjoying or anything. In that decision of getting the kingdom, they had to do that. So on one hand, they could have been in the forest. Then they could have lived happily with their family. But then they don't contribute anything. But if they want to contribute something, then you have to take this. That means in any situation, there is an advantage and a disadvantage simultaneously. And you have to tolerate that. Okay, just like Durvasa's benediction to Kunti. Durvasa gave those mantras, right, to Kunti. Yeah, call any demigod and beget a child. It looks great. And in fact, that benediction only saved Kunti to get children. Because, Pandu was cursed, right? By that sage Kindama Rishi. Because he was cursed that if you try to have union with your wives, you'll die. So because of this benediction only, they got, apparently, Yudhishthir, Bhim, everything. But then there was a problem also. Karna also was born. That means it seemed a very nice gift. But in that gift of Durvasa Muni, there was simultaneously a pleasure for Kunti and a curse for Kunti, which he had to live whole life. It is not that that gift came only with pleasure. That gift came with pain also. And that is the material world. Everything comes with simultaneously with pleasure and pain. And that pain part you have to tolerate only. Nothing can be done about it. Okay? Happiness also comes, na? Tolerate as in you can't get carried away too much by it. In that sense, you're supposed to tolerate it. That means you can't get too carried away by the euphoria of pleasure. वहाँ भी तुमको sober रहना पड़ेगा. Tam titiksha means you have to be sober. Right? I won the kingdom. I became a rich man. I brought a nice big flat of 1,300 square feet. लेकिन तब भी वो जो happiness आ रहा है, जो भी उसमें आ रहा है, वो भी tolerate करना पड़ेगा ना. You have to be sobered down only. You can't think that you have become very big.
This is applicable even to perfected beings.
As long as you are in the material.
I mean, even to Prabhupada's actions.
नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. Everybody has to tolerate. Now, since you asked the question, I'll raise the example immediately. It comes early on. Perhaps it comes later in my slide, but you ask the question. Just like, Prabhupada opened Gurukuls. Correct? So many Gurukuls he opened. In many of the Gurukuls, children were abused. So, many of the children went to court, this, that. So, it seems last year there was this Jagatarani Mataji, wife of Gurujan Prabhu. So, she was asked by 10, 12 Gurukul, grown-up boys who are ex-Gurukulis, who had very bad experiences and everything. They asked, since Prabhupada started the Gurukuling system, this system came with all the faults that it came. Will Prabhupada take the responsibility for the mess that happened in our lives? They asked a question. Yeah, they asked a question to proper disciple only. So Jagadananda Mataji said that previously, 20 years back, had somebody asked me this question, I would have slapped them. Slammed them as in I would have shouted at them. Saying that, how can you say like this? Prabhupada is always perfect. I would have said that. Or, it is not his mistake. I would have said that. But he said, after 30, 40 years of practice, I felt no. I felt that I have to address there some other emotions also. So she told them, it seems, of course Prabhupada will take responsibility for what happened in your lives. Why do you feel he will not? So it seems all the boys were immediately, they also, when they got that reaction, they didn't argue further. But it seems other Prabhupada disciples with whom these people raised these questions, if they said that no, he doesn't have that reaction, the consequence, then they would fight. Because the whole point is, as long as you're in the material world, anything that you do in the material world, in this material domain, will have a good and a bad with it. And the question, so we'll come to that more details later. So hold on.
It resolves many things. We just stop having a fanatical look at the things which Prabhupada says. For example, many times we quote, you picked it up last time also, about Prabhupada had a particular kind of an education which brought a few historical perspectives. So then when we are researching into it, we just stick to it. Prabhupada ने बोला है तो अच्छा ही होगा या वैसा ही होना चाहिए. So it's a more mature way of.
We'll come to all that a little later. So I'm starting from scripture first, and then we will go into some simpler examples. So just hold on, everything will come. So similarly, so we're taking some examples initially from Mahabharata. So Vyasa's description of disrobing incident. I think I mentioned this last time, right? This disrobing of Draupadi, which Vyasadeva, he mentions only in one place in the Mahabharata. He never mentions it later. But then many scholars, they felt that because Vyasadeva is not mentioning elsewhere, perhaps this incident never happened. It was later added in the Mahabharata. You understood? That means this incident is not mentioned by Vyasa. Which incident? Sari being removed. That incident is not mentioned in other places as a reference, but that is mentioned, that is done like that because of Vyasadev's sensitivity. You understood? Because such a bad thing that happened to tell again and again is very difficult. But then that also has a flip side. You understood? That means not presenting the same thing again and again, saying that this Dushasan tried to strip Draupadi, Dushasan tried to strip Draupadi, not mentioning that has a positive. The positive is what? Sensitivity to the situation. But there's a negative with it. What is the negative? Many scholars are debating now कि हो ही नहीं रहेगा मतलब क्यों बाकी जगह क्यों नहीं mention किया हुआ है? Are you getting the point? Anything that you do in this world will come with a flip side. It's never otherwise. Okay. Or Draupadi's plea in the court. Just like, for example, we know that when Draupadi, after that incident is over, she's pleading in the court, right? How can this husband of mine put me on bet, having lost himself? So again, there is a dvandva. There is a dvandva. They are all debating. Vidura is saying one thing, Bhishma is saying one thing. They are unable to exactly say. There is a conflict. That means the whole point is every situation in the world is like that only. That's the nature of this world. So that's why it's really very difficult in that sense. Now just like, we'll give some more easier examples. Dasharath on the birth of Lord Ram. So the Ramayana says that when Lord Ram was born, Dasharath was simultaneously happy and sad. Now you may say happy to samajh sakte hai, sad kyun? Why sad? He had promised
Kaikeyi's father that his son will become the king.
He had promised Kaikeyi's father that her son will become the king. Because what happened was, Dasharath had no children from Kaushalya and Sumitra. So he thought Kaikeyi से बच्चा हो गया तो अच्छी बात है, उसको ही राजा बनाएंगे, क्या problem है? But that time he didn't realize कि ऐसा problem हो सकता है. So later when the children are born, he's happy, but immediately he's sad. Because he's thinking that, अरे अभी क्या हो गया? अभी राम को तो राजा बनाना है मुझे, but I cannot. Because I promised like that. So that is of course there only. That is also there. But in this context mainly, he's thinking on that. You understood? Or for example, Ram dealing with Ayodhyavasis criticism. So when Ayodhyavasis are criticizing Ram getting Sita, kind of keeping Sita with him, right? Because Sita stayed with another man. It's a dvandva only. It's a conflicting situation in the material world. Even that means the whole point is, even the Lord is not free from the duality of the material world when he comes here. Because the material world has been constructed as a place of duality. Lord also has to experience the duality. As in, when he comes as a human being. It is said only Narasimhadev doesn't experience any duality because he stays for a very short time, does operation and goes away. But if the Lord decides to stay in this world for a long time, then unko bhi duality hai. Because for the Lord also, Lord Ram also, either he satisfies the Ayodhya Vasis, which basically means he has to suffer separation from Sita, or he keeps Sita at home, which basically means that the Ayodhya Vasis will be very angry, as in they will be criticizing. You understood? There is an advantage and disadvantage in any decision. That means any decision that the Lord makes, you're stuck, you're kind of checkmated, right? Of course he makes a decision. What is the decision? Send Sita away. But then that problem is there. He has to stay separation from Sita. See, of course, transcendental plane, we may say that thing. But no, we are looking at it from the material world perspective. I mean, the whole point is, in the material world, anything that you do comes in a duality only. That means there is simultaneously advantage, disadvantage. You cannot escape it. You're stuck.
Can we say, like in fighting with Bhishma, you were saying us. So the disadvantage was a higher thing than the...
higher or lower, yeah. That will come to that later. Higher or lower will come to later. But you have to tolerate it, na? Pain hai, na? You killed your grandfather. I mean, as in... See, even when Drona, when what is his name? When Yudhishthir tells a lie and Drona is killed, later when Arjuna actually tells, hey Yudhishthir, just for kingdom you did this, huh? You told a lie and you killed our guru. See, try to understand the Pandavas. Even though they killed all these people, even after killing, that dvandva was there only, na? That pain was there only. Ki humne cheating karke mara inko. We cheated and we killed them. We killed our teacher. Okay, we did this for dharma and all. We will come to that later. Dharma and Krishna we will bring later in the equation. I am not bringing them right now. The point is, we are first looking at it basically as just ordinary human beings in the world. That means as ordinary human beings in the world, dvandva is inescapable. Don't bring God right now. We'll bring him in the picture very soon. And for that, what we are showing is that even God is not free from the duality when he is staying here for a long time. Correct? Yeah.
Actually, the way the Lord has made this world, he has made this dvandva built into the system. Yes. But that causes a lot of doubt in the souls of, doubting souls को बहुत मसाला मिल जाता है doubt करने के लिए Lord के ऊपर. We start questioning all his decisions. He sent, then why did he send? So that kind of maybe we start asking questions about the character of Ram because this place has it has dvandva and then it creates more confusion in the greater mass.
If you want to answer, if the confusions have to be answered, it can be answered. But as such, it's a place of confusion only. It is like that. It is created, designed like that. Just like Lord killing Vali, if you see. Lord killing Vali, when Lord killed Vali, he killed by hiding. Correct? There was an advantage why he wanted to do that, which he tells Vali later. But there was a disadvantage also. Just like, for example, everyone even now criticizes Lord Ram. Na? In fact, even Arjuna in the Mahabharata criticizes Yudhishthir by saying that, hey, you killed Drona just like Ram killed Vali. Cheat karke mara unko. So that means what? Even when the Lord does some decision, there is an apparent disadvantage, which no matter how much you explain, people will keep saying only, whatever you say. You may say that Vali is an animal. You may say that he cheated. You may say that he deserved to die like that. Still, Ram killed him hiding only. You understood, na? So that decision in the world comes with that disadvantage. That's the point here. Dvandva means that.
We cannot say Ram, what he did was right or wrong.
Yeah, we'll come to that. Actually, right and wrong, I'll come to that very soon. Yeah. You cannot say that. See, that's what, na? Right and wrong. So, okay.
I tell you what happens now is, now the way we have heard till now, we will fight tooth and nail to say that Lord Ram was right only. We will not at all give any scope to the discussion. It's possible what Ram did was wrong. So when we are talking to people or we're sitting at a pedestal when our words may be quoted, what should we say? If it's a direct question to us, is it right or wrong? How should we answer?
Yeah. The answer is that the Vedic civilization doesn't see things as right and wrong. This right and wrong concept is a Western concept. That means this black and white is a Western concept. The Bhagavad Gita talks of moods. There are decisions in Sattva, Rajas and Tamas with consequences. You understood, na? Yeah, decisions are with consequences. There is nothing like, there is nothing like, see, I have another example. The Manu Samhita talks of thief punishment. How a thief should be punished. Now, we may say thief means wrong only, right? Thief matlab galat hai. Usko jail mein dalo. Waisa nahi hai. Manu Samhita says, if a thief is caught, find out why did he steal. If he stole because he had no food to eat, and because he was struggling in poverty, and because the rich men in the village and the town were not generous and charitable, catch all the rich men and put them in jail. And take their money and give. Naxalite philosophy. You understood? That is also not wrong in one perspective. But Manu Samhita says, but if the thief is a professional thief, चोरी का profession बनाया उसने, you understood? Then he has to be punished. So that's what it means by saying there is nothing completely right and wrong. That's what we have discussed before also. Vishwamitra Muni about to eat dog flesh. You can't call it wrong. Right? We discussed the story, right? In Ramayana it comes that once there is a 12-year drought and Vishwamitra has no food to eat, only food is dog meat. So he's about to eat the dog meat. So the Chandala is asking, isn't it wrong? He's saying, no, it is in this particular situation. This is the thing I have to do to maintain my body. It comes with a disadvantage. But then there is nothing else to do. So we will see. So that's why I said, decisions in the world are always choosing between the lesser of the two evils. It's always choosing between the lesser of the two evils. Anything that we do, it is lesser of the two evils. So because it is lesser of the two evils, we have to make a decision also. Otherwise, you'll get frustrated. We'll answer that at the end when we see, the answer to our 7 questions that I put up initially. We have to make a decision. It's the lesser of the two evils. Everything has a good and a bad with it, right? Bad है ना उसके साथ. ऐसा नहीं कि only good है. Bad भी है उसके साथ. Good भी है लेकिन. So you have to see according to dharma and time, place, situation. It is simultaneously, it will have a plus and a minus.
Imagine he could not have killed Duryodhana. Dronacharya, Drona. उसका भी consequence होता वो.
Yeah, the consequence was Drona was unnecessarily killing all people. Yeah, it expects maturity, without which you cannot handle this. So we'll go ahead. Hold on. Right? So the thief example is clear, right? Even if somebody does a very noble task, sometimes that, he was going to give a very nice example. Mahaprabhu took sannyas, right? Why did he take sannyas? Tomorrow is Mahaprabhu's appearance. Chalo, Mahaprabhu ke baare mein kuch to bola. Why did Mahaprabhu take sannyas?
Yeah, actually, again, there are 2 reasons why he took sannyas. One, the external reason was, of course, to spread the holy name and do preaching, and but actually, people were not respecting householders.
Respect. Mahaprabhu took sannyas so that people will respect him. That's the reason. It's mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat. But that is also a problem. As in, there is a book which ISKCON published. It's being sold now, Mayapur and everywhere it seems. It is an interview of all sannyasis and ex-sannyasis of ISKCON. Why they took sannyas. It's kind of a very controversial book. But publish kar diya aur bech rahe hai abhi, stall mein. So you can buy that book if you wish to. I don't know. I have not read the book. If you are reading, we will give a presentation sometime in counseling meeting. Why everyone took sannyas. So it's some of them have said, we took sannyas because we felt that this will give us respect. You understood? So initially it was respect for preaching. But then that respect for preaching can become just respect for self. You understood? So that means, even in setting such an example, there is a conflict. That means some disadvantage will come out of it. Are you getting it? Somebody will quote you in the wrong context and use it and say, because you did that, I am doing it. This is what it means by saying that this material world is a place of Dvandva. Now let's go to the next set of examples. These are now from our world. Okay, sorry, I have my control. Okay. Yeah, so let's see some more simpler examples of Dvandva. Okay. So the first one. So this is from history and modern world or our ISKCON experience or whatever. So I've just written some headings which we will discuss. Like for example, from history we know Shivaji sent Tanaji to fight for the Sinhagad fort, right? Of course, Sinhagad, uska pehle ka naam kya tha? Kondana. Correct. Now please remember, 3 days after that fight, after that event, was supposed to be Tanaji's son's wedding, Raiba's wedding. You understood? Now please try to understand, there is a conflict for Shivaji. Shivaji cries later. The conflict is whether to send Tanaji to fight and get the Kondana fort, thereby risking his life, or should we allow him to go ahead with his marriage? You understood? I mean, there is a conflict between caring for persons and caring for the moment. And both can have its advantage, disadvantage. Consequence कुछ भी हो सकता है. And eventually it happened. Tanaji died. Fort was got. But in Raiba's marriage happened also. With his father dead, just some days before, Shivaji went and did it. So there is a pain in that person's heart, right? See, Shivaji, when he tells Tanaji also, नहीं बाबा तुम उसका शादी करके आओ. But then he says, no, this is urgent and important. करना ही पड़ेगा अभी. Raiba's wedding will happen later. You understood the point? That means in that decision also, there is a pain. Even though from mission perspective he got the fort, but there is a pain. Na? You lost a man, and that son, poor fellow, his dad died some days before his marriage. Pain है उसमें. Unavoidable है वो. Anything you do is unavoidable. Something good happens, something bad happens simultaneously. You're stuck.
But it's kind of predictable that in all these situations of duality, the person took decision in favor of the better or higher.
Yeah, so Dharma, we'll come to that. What? We'll come to that later. Yeah, correct. Yeah, but still, even whether you say higher, lower, whatever, pain hai na? See, we are talking from the perspective, whether you say that मैंने भगवान के लिए लिया, कृष्ण के लिए लिया, राधा रानी के लिए डिसीजन लिया, तुमने लिया रहेगा उनके लिए, लेकिन पेन तो तुमको कॉन्सिक्वेंस है ही मटेरियल वर्ल्ड में. तुम नहीं बोल सकते हो पेन नहीं आएगा मुझे, पेन उतना ही आएगा. We'll come to that more in detail later. Okay, so just he was like, we were sharing some examples from Maharaj's some life and some things that Maharaj shared with him, Radhanath Swami. So one example he said that Maharaj, he was in one place in US it seems, couple years ago, whatever. So it seems there was some child abuse case which was currently going on in court, where there was one senior Prabhupada disciple. So he was like a principal of the school when some abuse had happened. You understood, na? And the boy who was abused, his parents are also devotees only, Prabhupada disciples. They only had sent their children, right? So that set of parents and that boy who is now grown up had put a case against this senior Prabhupada disciple. He's like a sannyasi, but uske against case dala tha. So Maharaj was there in that place, and both these people were there. You understood? And both wanted Maharaj to spend time with them and give them ideas of how to face this situation. Now try to understand this. This is Dvandva. This is a conflict. So Govind Prabhu was explaining neutrality is ruled out. You can't say that like Balram ji, मैं तुम्हारे पक्ष में भी नहीं, तुम्हारे पक्ष में नहीं, मैं तीर्थ यात्रा के लिए जा रहा हूँ. So he was saying only, that's why traditionally sannyas in Vedic society meant going beyond Dvandva. Because a sannyasi, if you see in 6th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that a sannyasi, he is, all the characters are described, right? He is neutral to gold भी नहीं है, ये नहीं है, सबको समान रूप से देखता है. He is actually cultivating the thought process required to go beyond duality. You get it? But when you are in an organization as a sannyasi, that is not applicable to you. You are stuck only. You are in the society. समाज में हो आप. ये जो संन्यास द्वंद्व के ऊपर जाता है वो समाज में नहीं है, समाज के बाहर चला गया है वो. He's like Madhavendra Puri, let us say. He's sitting on the bank of Govinda Kundet chanting. उनको द्वंद्व नहीं. लेकिन अगर आप सिचुएशन दुनिया में हो, you are in the world, then द्वंद्व तो हमेशा रहेगा. So he was saying that both these people wanted Maharaj on their side, because that sannyasi was their proper disciple. उनके हिसाब से actually he felt that I had not done anything wrong. I was principal, ठीक है, लेकिन मैंने गलत काम नहीं किया, मुझे कोई support नहीं कर रहा है अभी. So finally Maharaj had to choose, and he was telling that Maharaj ultimately went to the family only, because the whole environment in ISKCON was to support families only at that time, and the children who were affected, not with all these principals and sannyasis, who may have not directly done the offense, but still, they were considered responsible because it was under their nose that something happened, kind of. You understood the point, no? So that's a dvandva, right? Dvandva hai ki nahi hai? Conflict. I mean, anything you do, there's an advantage or disadvantage. If you go with the sannyasi and you help him out, the family सब बोलेगा क्या है महाराज आप ऐसे किए. इनके पास गया तो उनको लगता है महाराज you also misunderstood me. I thought at least you will be with me in this situation. So there is in anything you do, there is an advantage, disadvantage. You can't say that. Actually, neutrality is not an option only. That's why Balram ji, what he does in the Mahabharata war, वो actually true neutrality है ही नहीं. That's why ultimately उनका आ जाता है बाहर. He wants to, he says that दुर्योधन बेचारा है, this that. It comes out. Neutrality is never an option. You can't say that मैं यहाँ भी नहीं हूँ, वहाँ भी नहीं हूँ. Okay? Because you have to face Dvandva. You have to choose an option. So in the Mahabharata context, Vyasadeva says, you have to throw the dice. So Yudhishthir's throwing dice is like making a decision. Every decision will have a consequence. But life forces you to keep throwing the dice. If you say, I will not throw dice, that has other consequences. We'll come to that. That is also decision. Uska alag consequence hai. So Dvandva is there and you have to keep tolerating it. You have to tolerate the things that come out of it. You understood, na? The misery that comes. So another example he was telling Maharaj is that, I think this was in 2013 Yatra. Anybody remembers when Jayapataka Maharaj had that stroke in Bombay? हम लोग वृंदावन में थे ना एक साल? 2008. 8, yeah, correct. No, it was not. It was 8. हम लोग थे, दोनों बच्चों के साथ थे. 8 है? Okay. Yeah, correct. Okay, 2008. Okay, so that time, if you remember, Kirtanand Swami had also passed away that time. Now just try to imagine, Kirtanand Swami had passed away in Bombay. So for those of you who know something, so he was a sannyasi in ISKCON. Later something happened, he had moved out of ISKCON, but still he was a sannyasi only. And he passed away in Bombay. And his body was brought to Vrindavan for cremation. Antim Samskar. So, yeah, our yatra was going on there. Now the question is, will Radhanath Swami go for his cremation or no? You understood? Now, of course, this was never announced or anything. During a yatra came, I had gone and seen that thing. Some people came to know, so we had gone. So, when his body had come, you understood, na? The whole question was, if Maharaj goes for the cremation, there will be criticism. Criticism from whom? Many people in ISKCON saying that this Maharaj, Kirtanand Swami, did so much, trouble for ISKCON or whatever. People have grievances against him. How could Radhanath Swami go for his cremation? And if you don't go, there is a basic human nature of yours that is questioned internally. अरे मरने के बाद भी नहीं छोड़ेगा क्या किसी को? मरने के बाद तो you are supposed to be at least ठीक है भाई, हो गया ना दुश्मनी. That's why in the Vedic scripture, when a person is dead, everything is forgotten actually. Forget being devotee now. Are you even a human being? To look at somebody, as a human. You understood? Maharaj eventually went. But that had its whatever. Whoever wanted to say something, wanted and would say that. But you have to face that. Are you getting the point? So the whole point is, material world is designed only like that. No matter who you are, you are a great devotee, you are supreme personality of Godhead, you will face situations where this situation, if I do, this is the advantage, this is the disadvantage. If I don't do and do some other thing, another advantage, another disadvantage. Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha, simultaneously in everything. And you have to tolerate that. You can't say that I will justify to everybody in the world, मैंने जो किया बराबर किया. लोग मानेंगे नहीं आपको. लोग बोलेंगे महाराज आप जो बोलना है बोलो. हम नहीं मानते कि ये डिसीजन सही था. क्या करोगे फिर? है ना? कितना किसको कन्विंस करोगे जाके दुनिया में? You're stuck only. Because the world is a place of duality. That's the point here. Okay?
Because of this reason, many times we see people avoiding positions of decision making in institutions.
You can't avoid no thing. But there's no use. In your house, you have to make decision. You're stuck only. You will have to take sannyas. Sannyas means not like in ISKCON sannyasi. You'll have to be like that traditional sannyasi who is out of society, begging from home to home. And अगर किसी ने लात मारा तो भी अफेक्ट नहीं होता है. अच्छा प्रसाद दिया तो भी अफेक्ट नहीं होता है. वैसा करोगे तो ड्युअलिटी के ऊपर जा सकते हो. नहीं तो दुनिया में रहते रहते तुमको ड्युअलिटी फेस करना ही पड़ेगा. शादी में तो ड्युअलिटी है. ड्युअलिटी है ना. So that शादी is the next example. So there was this next example वही है. So एक true story है. मतलब ऐसे बहुत सारे story है. This true example of a Mataji, which is always an example. So she had a child, but for some reason her husband was totally irresponsible or whatever. You understand? So she was thinking, should I leave my husband and go? So she came to the counselors to ask this question. उसमें द्वंद्व है. You understand this? If she leaves her husband and goes, whatever some protection she is getting, that will also be gone. But if she stays with him, उसमें भी problem ही है ना. Life अभी married life में मजा नहीं है. Husband devotee है, लेकिन he is not doing his duty properly. Are you getting the point? रहो तो भी problem, नहीं रहो तो भी problem. रहने का प्रॉब्लम अलग, नहीं रहने का प्रॉब्लम और एडवांटेज अलग. बट लेकिन है, दोनों है. एडवांटेज भी डिसएडवांटेज भी है दोनों डिसीजंस में. So that's why it's extremely tricky. The world is like that, duality. So whatever decision you take, you have to tolerate the consequence of that. Okay. Then finally she decided, no, I'll stay with my husband only. But then we said you have to keep tolerating that, whatever his, strange nature is. You can't do anything about it.
We see like Krishna tried to defend himself in that Shamantaka jewel का जो pastime होता है ना, उसमें he means if we go by this.
Understood. So you may make an effort to defend yourself, but उसका भी consequence पक्का नहीं है ना हमेशा. ऐसा कुछ नहीं कि सब लोग समझते हैं. Even Balram ji misunderstood him. Are you getting the point? See, it is never perfected. Try to understand. See, just like simple thing, Ram killed Wali by hiding. तुम कितना भी एक्सप्लेन करो शास्त्र के हिसाब से क्यों सही था, ऐसे ही होना चाहिए था, वाली ऐसे ही मरना चाहिए था, तब भी लोग बोलेंगे जो भी है हाइड करके नहीं मरना चाहिए था, हमको नहीं मानना ये बात. एंड इंटरनली ऑल्सो दे आर कन्विंस्ड दैट इज रॉन्ग. आई मीन अर्जुन इज कन्विंस्ड इट इज रॉन्ग. इन वन प्लेस ही इज टेलिंग युधिष्ठिर, राम जैसा मारा ऐसा तूने मारा यार. अर्जुन ही इज टेलिंग एंड ही इज टेलिंग इन प्रेजेंस ऑफ कृष्णा हु इज राम ओनली. कृष्णा हैज टू हियर दैट. मेरा पास्ट लाइफ का द्वंद्व अभी भी मेरे को नहीं छोड़ रहा है, सुनना पड़ेगा वो तुमको. करेक्ट. भगवान बैठे रहे उधर, भगवान को भी सुनना ही पड़ेगा. भगवान ने बोल सकते हैं मैं ही था, क्या करे, अभी भी लोग नहीं छोड़ रहे, देह चेंज कर दिया, देह गया अभी और राम गए, कृष्ण आ गए, सुनना पड़ेगा. लेकिन वर्ल्ड वैसे ही है, नहीं छोड़ेगा तुमको. एंड तुमको भी प्रॉब्लम होता है. सी नाउ दिस इज अनदर थिंग. मेनी टाइम्स वी आर थिंकिंग, हमको भी प्रॉब्लम होता है बाद में. वी टेक अ डिसीजन एंड वी आर ओनली थिंकिंग लाइक अर्जुन हैड डिसाइडेड भगवत गीता सुनने के बाद चलो भीष्म द्रोण को मैं मारूंगा, लेकिन मारने के बाद शांत थे क्या? नहीं, रो ही रहे थे, बाद में भी रो रहे थे, हमेशा धिक्कार है मेरे ऊपर, मैंने ऐसे किया. बिकॉज इट डजंट लीव यू. यू अंडरस्टूड ना. यू मेक अ डिसीजन ऑल्सो हाईएस्ट कॉज के लिए, जो बोलना है तुम बोलो फिलोसफी, लेकिन तुमको छोड़ेगा नहीं, वो पकड़ के रखेगा, तुम मिजरी देता रहेगा वो. Yeah, we will end. We will answer all those 7 questions. Maybe I'll give the mic to my wife again. She will tell another Andal verse. वो Andal का verse है. How to be pure devotee. She will tell that. थोड़ा सा अच्छा है. So don't go away from this class now. You will be in Doddo only. Loop पे रहोगे, ढूंढते रह जाओगे इसका solution क्या है. तो हमारा क्लास के एंड तक कोई भागेगा मत.
गोविंद प्रभु के साथ आपका क्लास भी ऐसे ही चल रहा था क्या?
मैं आपका जैसे बैठ के क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा था उनको. और वो जो द्वंद्व गोविंद प्रभु ने एक्सपीरियंस किया वो मैं कर रहा हूँ. ओके, या सो विल गो अहेड. वी विल फर्स्ट फिनिश आवर सेट ऑफ एग्जांपल्स, थोड़ा सा, फिर देयर आर मेनी मोर पॉइंट्स टू से. So Govind Prabhu is telling one very interesting example that now comes examples where even if you do good, द्वंद्व है ही उसमें. So he was telling that there was this, he was talking to this one Mumbai police commissioner who just retired, it seems, some Inamdar, one guy. He, it seems, had taken voluntary retirement 2 years before his service got over, 1 year before or something. Why he took? Because during the previous rule, Maharashtra state government, this fellow who's in jail, Chhagan Bhujbal, कौन है वो जेल में? भुजबल ही है ना जेल में. So this fellow was the home minister and he was troubling him a lot. So this fellow was a clean man in his life, Inamdar. मतलब कभी bribe नहीं लिया, गलत काम नहीं किया. You understood ना? He went to police thinking that I will do good. But then he understood, यहाँ हर चीज़ good नहीं कर सकते. You're forced, द्वंद्व है उसमें. You're forced to do some things, according to time, place, situation to minimize the problems. समझ गया ना? But finally he felt that because this minister is not allowing me to do my work honestly, better I will resign. He took a decision. He resigned. But he said when he resigned, he later understood that he faced a loss of about 25 lakh rupees. Because of some reasons he resigned at a particular time, he lost some money in his whatever thing. And that money was actually very critical for him for some financial thing like whatever, buying house or settling or whatever. Because he was a non-corrupted fellow. He had not earned black money like that. So everything was white only. So for him that money loss was a big loss. You understood? So it's him, Govind Prabhu was asking him, फिर आपने decision क्यों लिया? वो बोले क्या कर रहे? My heart was not saying yes to continue. So I had to take a decision. Are you regretting? He said, no, I'm not. Because at least I'm happy within, but I'm having to tolerate this misery of losing 25 lakh rupees. You understood that? So for a good also you take a decision, but उस पे भी एक consequence है. which you are paying. You know, there is a consequence. The consequence you never escape from it. Correct? And he was telling, now we go to another even more controversial example, where sometimes you have to, okay, so this example is like this. Generally, you know, none of us like to contradict our gurus, right? I mean, you don't want to, I mean, that's considered offense and all, right, in our sampradaya and system in general. But then sometimes, he said it happens in the material world, a person becomes forced to. So he was giving a very interesting example. He was saying Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur had a disciple whose name was Krishna Das. He Rajasthan mein tha. He was a grihastha, kind of scholar, everything. So there was one big king over there, Raja Jai Singh of the Rajput dynasty. Jai Singh bolke Raja tha. So that fellow, it seems, challenged this Krishna Das, that in your Gaudiya Vaishnavism, in your philosophy and everything, you don't emphasize. Is there anybody who has spoken anything about social service, serving society? तुम लोग बोलते ही नहीं हो इसके बारे में, कितना important है? So now what had happened was, they wanted the king's support for various things. See, ultimately तुमको king का support चाहिए ना, कार्य करने के लिए material world में. See, if you want to sit and do bhajan in the forest, you don't need anybody's support. But if you want to sit like even we, I asked Sri Guru Charan Prabhu, you know, he had voted. He said, hey, you voted? I said, hey, why me? He said, all of us, we have to vote only. He said, because all the corporators do all the work for us. They build roads, they do everything. If you say you will not do that, if you don't show them that we voted, it is not acceptable. You understood, na? So when you want to stay in the society, you have to interact with politicians. So this fellow, Krishnadas, he wanted the support of Jai Singh, all the Vaishnavas they needed. But Jai Singh said that I want you to show me how in your Gaudiya Vaishnavism also, in your things also there is social service, in your philosophy. Because वो उसका वो passion था. So this person, it seems, he used Bhagavad Gita and everything, and using Karma Yoga, everything as a basis, he showed his king that, see, there is this concept that we have to serve society. But in doing so, in some places, he had to contradict his own guru. You understood, right? Because his guru, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, had given purport on Bhagavad Gita also as if it is Radha Krishna Leela. As in, even Bhagavad Gita in many places, Chakravarti Path comments, he sees Radha Krishna Madhuri Leela only over there. Are you getting it? Because he is seeing it from that platform. But then when you want to interact with someone who is on a much lower platform, then that platform becomes a problem. Because if you show that purport, you will say, ये क्या है? मेरे को नहीं समझ. तो ये सब बाजू मेरे को. ये सब नहीं है. ये सच नहीं. Or ये, this is not so correct. Take this explanation. This is actually something correct. You understood, right? उसमें problem. So that person, उसको भी द्वंद्व है ना. This Krishna Das. That means, if you say that I don't care for Jai Singh, then you can repeat your guru's purport. But then you will not get support of king. But if you want support of king, apparently you will have to say something which is not so much in line with what somebody else said. Are you getting it? You're caught only between the two. You can't, there is an advantage, disadvantage in both. You may say that, okay, no matter what, my guru's purport is only the best. But then you're stuck. Then this fellow is not going to help you in anything. Then you'll have to sit as a normal Babaji and do your bhajan. You got the point, right? So it's a dvandva only. So he was telling many, so for example, we are taking some other simple examples also. So he was telling that just like in any fight that happens, he was telling once in one, he met one military person. He told him a story of some war in Kargil, where it seems one officer of Indian army was killed. Was shot actually. He not died, was shot. So another officer felt, isko bachana chahiye mujhe. But there is a risk. If you go, you may say, oh, you made. So it seems he went, he also got shot. Like that, it seems 5 officers died in the same place. You understood that? So it seems later the government was telling them that government had made a rule. If somebody is shot, don't go to save him. But they were saying, we can't stay by the government's decision. Because we feel, ये इसको शूट किया हुआ है, अगर इसको मैं खींच के लेके आऊँगा, अस्पताल लेके जाऊँगा, बच जाएगा ये. So if I just run away, I will save my life, but whole life I will be thinking, maybe I should have helped him. वो जीता था वो आदमी. पूरा life तुमको, अंदर से your heart will keep pinching you. But if you go to save him, there may be advantage, but you may be shot dead. 5 guys wait. So that is a dvandva. Anything you do, you're stuck actually. You get caught up. So just like, we were discussing on this education. Education is this is something more closer home to our own experience. It's an amazing dvandva and duality in this. No matter what decision we take, there is a challenge. Just like, for example, most of us, perhaps at least most of you, your children are, even right now smaller, even all of us, mine included. But as our children start growing, especially beyond 7th, 8th and all, there is an amazing dondho that starts. The thing is, if you see the outside, at least many children, who want to aim for IIT or some big exam, they work hard like anything. You understood, na? In that working hard like anything, there is an apparent advantage that they may get into IIT. Like all these people got into IIT in their younger days. Correct? But the disadvantage is that your life at that point becomes very, strenuous, hellish or whatever you want to call. But if you don't do that, temporarily it may be very nice. You may be very peaceful. But later you have a problem. Are you getting it, na? What to do with your career? You're stuck only. It is not a very easy decision actually. It's not easy decision at all. In fact, no decision is easy. Just like, Govind Prabhu was giving this example of, because this somebody this came in our yatra actually. I think Rasamal Gaur Prabhu will remember. Hamara home, I think it was Narayan Acharya Prabhu, somebody asked a question about education. He was actually asking about Aruda Mataji's book, based on homeschooling, based on teaching Bhagavatam. You understood, na? All of you know that, right? She talks about teaching children based on Bhagavat. So he said, very interesting point, he said that what works for somebody as an advantage may not work for us as an advantage. You understood? Because everybody is different again. So you can't decide that you will take that method and implement in your life. In your life, it may fail miserably. You understood? Some devotee tries, that's what I said earlier, some devotee may try some strategy in his life and he may achieve some degree of success with his own set of disadvantages which only he knows. If we take that in our life, it is not necessary that it will work in our life. It may just crash out. Nahi chalega wo. You understood? Because the world is dondho only. मतलब उसमें advantage भी है, disadvantage भी है. It depends on the child also. वो child के लिए advantage है कि disadvantage है. शास्त्र इतना पढ़ना. कितने बच्चों को ऐसे capacity है? कुछ बच्चों को होगा, कुछ को नहीं होगा. जिनको है, उनको system में डाला तो ज़्यादा अच्छा होगा. जिसको नहीं है, उसको system में डाला बहुत, he will curse like anything. Because he's not in that, he's not meant for that. You understood, na? So any decision becomes extremely difficult in that sense. Because, so he was giving another example. He said that he had recently, sometime before he had gone to some place in the Gulf. So there were some young girls, it seems, like 15, 16-year-old. So it seems they had asked one question to many preachers who had come there. But they never got a satisfied answer. So they asked him. So what was the question, huh? What was the question? Question was, devotee children, devotee girls. They said, Prabhuji, we are the only daughter of our parents. Just like nowadays many people, only one daughter. So they said, we are the only daughter of our parents. After we are married, why is it that we have to go to our husband's house? Why can't our husbands come and stay with us? Because my priority is to take care of my parents. Husband also can come and stay. So the point was still no, whichever preachers they asked, they said, no, it is not like that. Prabhupada said about what a chaste wife is. ये वो बहुत कुछ lecture दिया. उनको अच्छा नहीं लगा. तो गोविंद प्रभु ने बोला, कर सकते हो. करो बोले. कर सकते हो क्या? करो ना. शादी के पहले बोल दो लड़के को. शादी के बाद मेरे साथ ही रहने का. फिर वो लड़कियों ने पूछा, लेकिन प्रभु जी फिर सोसाइटी क्या बोलेगा? हंसेगा ना उनको देख के. प्रॉब्लम है ना तुमको? फिर तुम सोचो. Any decision has a consequence. You understood, na? So it immediately came out. So basically what happens is, now we are coming to another point here. When we take any decision in this world, at that time we generally think only about the advantage of that. We don't think only about the disadvantage of it. Because we forget that there is a dvandva in that situation. We think that this situation is permanently advantageous to me. But when that situation actually comes, you understand, नहीं रे बाबा, ये situation उतना आसान नहीं handle करने का, इसमें problem भी है. You understood? Then you get stuck. So getting obsessed with only the advantage leads you to a situation actually. I mean, it leads you to a problem. It is not that easy actually. You get it, right? Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Many times the intention of asking a question to an authority is to run away from the duality and put the burden of the decision on that person. Because I don't want to deal with the duality of taking a decision. I never did it because I came to the decision. I did it because Krishna Prabhu told me. Very simple. So they were avoiding that. I mean, they were avoiding that.
I asked him that question. If somebody asks us a a problem, should you give them solution or no? He said, that is your Dvandva. He said, if you give solution, you are responsible for the consequences also. If you are not ready to take responsibility for the consequence, he said, don't give solution. Let them only take solution.
The good instructor or a good authority in Vedic times, you always sit and explain the consequences of both, and then they say Hare Krishna. The decision is
It is not just, it is not binary and it is not once. It's long lasting, right?
whenever there is a situation.
No, but that thing will keep coming. See, try to understand. Sometimes there are big decisions a person has to make. Whether I have to divorce or I have to stay together. I mean, some major decisions people come and ask you. It's not a one point answer. उसका consequence बहुत देर तक चलने वाला है उसके लिए. नहीं, but it will keep coming later also. So it is not one said and done. वो तुम्हारा पीछा पड़ेगा बाद में. You understood, na? So it's a very delicate thing. Ideally, everybody has to take their own decision.
Ideally, everyone takes their own decision. You only said
Yeah, they take.
hear it from your mouth.
Yeah, but you have to be careful before giving that out.
So that means sometimes we have to spell out.
Yeah, that depends on your closeness with that person and how much you're ready to take the consequence of that. How much you're sure on that. We'll come to that. Right? So simple, another example, this is a beautiful example of Dvandva. I think this we had discussed long time back. Like man and woman. Man and woman who come together, they're a perfect example of how they complement each other's Dvandva. Duality, that means their plus and advantage and disadvantage, right? We had discussed this point long time back if you remember. That a woman, for example, if you remember from Mahabharata, we had made this discussion, Bhishma to Yudhishthir, that a woman is considered, correct, less intelligent. Oh, tha na? Oh, kyun? Why was that? Remember that whole thing? Because she has more attachment to the sense object. Now, why more attachment to the sense object? Remember that whole thing? Because they are supposed to be loyal to their husband. Remember we had made this discussion long time ago once, right? That why for a woman there is more, apparently when Bhishma asked the question, why they enjoy more in that physical act, he says the general answer is that because they have to experience loyalty. You see this? So in a particular quality in a gender, there is an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage is what? They will experience loyalty. The disadvantage is what? They will be called as 9 times lustier or whatever. You get it? It's the same attribute, but has a plus and a minus simultaneously. And it has to be handled. Correct? So just like raising children, why a husband and a wife both are needed to raise a child? Simple thing. Because they have different strengths and different weaknesses. Husband is said to be more focused on efficiency. The mother is said to be more focused on affection. So child needs to simultaneously be efficient and also get affection in his life. So there is only one component, there is a problem. Because then the Dvandva becomes even more enhanced. But when both are there, it gets kind of balanced out, sorted out. Correct? So basically, till now with all these examples, what we were trying to show is that in the world, Dvandva is unavoidable. In anything we do, any decision, we have Rishabh Prabhu over here, who is a young, unmarried Nityanand Sabha boy, hoping to get married very soon, right? But in the, more eligible bachelor, right? But in that decision also, there is a Dvandva. Now please remember, if you are thinking of going back to Gaurang Sabha and joining, udhar bhi Dvandva hai. ऐसा नहीं कि द्वंद्व नहीं है, द्वंद्व है, द्वंद्व सभी जगह है, right? The conflict continues to exist. You have to keep fighting that. There is an advantage, disadvantage in anything, right? In general, right? Makes sense? So till now everybody is convinced. Any thoughts on this? Anybody feels that there is no Dvandva? Anybody not suffering Dvandva in this world? No Dvandva. In Singapore there was no Dvandva. You know better. Yeah, I know better. They were the Ritwiks.
Ruji, I feel for all the things which you told, it is applicable for only those who are performing dharma. One who is doing dharma, there is a dvandva. Like the example you told, this of saving somebody. If a person will just think about himself, then he will not go.
See, that fellow also has dvandva only. See, try to understand. I am giving examples of people who are dharmic, who are undergoing dvandva. Because generally we may feel that because we are dharmic or Krishna's devotee, we don't have to experience dvandva. You understood? Yeah, correct. But advantage and disadvantage like Duryodhan. he was adharmic, but still in every situation of his life also, if you see, he was also experiencing the consequences of advantage and disadvantage. As in, you understood the point. Just like, for example, he cheated the Pandavas. He thought it is great fun. Inko sab hara diya, inko bech diya. It was not like that. In that action of Duryodhan also, there was he only put an evil seed for his destruction, right? He didn't understand that it is going to. He is thinking that ये मेरे अच्छे ही के लिए कर रहा हूँ, लेकिन it will boomerang back on him. So I wouldn't say that the adharmi people don't face dvandva. What I wanted to say is that no matter who you are, whether you are a demon, devotee, supreme personality of Godhead, pure devotee, as long as you are in the material world with a material body, dvandva is inescapable. That's what we are trying to say.
You can say this, the one who is not dharmic, he is having at least what I think is less dvandva than the other.
No, not like that. He is experiencing everything. He may not be very analytical. In fact, actually, dvandva is least in sattva guna, magnified. Dvandva means what? Another way of defining dvandva is the difference between the action and the consequence. That means, see, I do an action. Let's say I get married. I'm doing that action to get pleasure, to be happy. But the consequence may not be. Consequence may be different from the action. You understood, na? The Pandavas fought the battle to get the throne. That was intended consequence, and to, whatever, to get their thing restored. But then they lost all their children. So your action and consequence has a gap. That gap is the dvandva. And that gap exists whether you are a devotee or non-devotee. It's not that if you are a non-devotee, tumko gap nahi hai. You may not. The only thing for the non-devotee is that, what shall I say? He will not hesitate in making a very wrong, sinful decision. But then he will experience the after effects of it nevertheless. You get it? Like Duryodhan will not hesitate in cheating the Pandavas, stripping Draupadi. But the consequences of that he will get. The advantage and disadvantage of that. Advantage means temporary pressure. That's the dvandva. That means the advantage and disadvantage, the consequence of every situation is there, right? Duryodhan, why did he do gambling match? He thought he'll be happy, right? Did he become happy? He suffered. Even when the Pandavas were 13 years in the forest, not that he was jolly over here. He was constantly in tension. कब आएंगे? क्या होगा? था ना उसको टेंशन. ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं था. अधर्मी को भी द्वंद्व है. ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं है. In fact, as such, if you see, the more adharmi you are, you experience a greater conflict and suffering in your heart. Only thing, he will not have that dharam sankat in some way. But dvandva in general is there only. You understood, right? He will face it. He will face it. In the material world, it's an inescapable attribute. That's what we are saying. Otherwise, the good solution is to escape from dvandva, is to become a demon. लेकिन वैसा नहीं है. There is only one way to escape the dvandva, which is going back to Godhead or getting out of the material world. उसके अलावा और कोई दूसरा solution. Otherwise, you have to be like a Paramahamsa. Like Rishabdev went beyond dvandva. Rishabdev एकदम सब छोड़ छाड़ के, he was walking in the street, people are spitting on him, urinating, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. Beyond dvandva. वैसा सन्यासी बनने का. These are the only two people who go beyond dvandva. Otherwise, no, you don't. That's why you have to keep tolerating. In fact, I'll come to that. Now I think it's time to start answering some of those questions. Okay, so we'll come to that. That will answer that even better. Okay, let's go ahead now. I have only 2-3 more slides. Slides ज़्यादा नहीं है, लेकिन okay, yeah.
Bringing in this concept.
Open Bhagavatam 11:28, 11:28-4. Now you ask question.
As soon as we bring in this idea, as soon as we bring in this idea of dvanda is unavoidable, and other than these avadhuts, everyone else experiences dvanda. Even Yudhishthir Maharaj, as you said rightly, that even in the forest he was feeling. Many times we tend to put these avatars or acharyas or devotees who are very close to the Lord on a very high pedestal, and we tend to look at their life as if whatever they did, with all their decisions, they were always happy. Like recently I remember 2 days back I was speaking in my office and I said that Yudhishthir Maharaj was looking forward to the opportunity of going to the forest because it was completely happiness for him. But now I realize, frankly speaking, it was not happiness. It was good in some way and there were consequences of it. See, Yeah, best out of this. So many times we happen that we tend to put these people on a high pedestal, and then we become lazy in terms of fighting out the dualities. And I mean, what happens now is, it's striving for going back to Godhead is not my cup of tea. I mean, I cannot do it. They could do it.
Yeah, it's born out of that. Yeah. So you can't, in the material world, everybody has to. So, just open that, 11:28:4. So if you see 11:28:4, this is Bhagavatam verse that is talking on Dondua. Kim badram kima badram va dvaita syavastuna kiyat vachoditam tad anartham manasa dhyayatam evacha. That which is expressed by material worlds or meditated upon by material mind is not ultimate truth. What therefore is actually good or bad within this insubstantial world of duality? How can the extent of such good and bad be measured? Basically, the Bhagavatam is asking this question, how do you measure good and bad in this world? What is good and bad ultimately? That means the whole point here is, in qualities or in any situation, that's why we were saying earlier, unlike the Abrahamic world, which may see things as right and wrong, black and white, the Vedic Shastras don't see it that way. So basically, in every situation, there is a plus and there is a minus simultaneously. So that's why there is nothing. This comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita also, in this particular verse, Antya 4.116. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling Sanatan Goswami. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is embracing Sanatan Goswami, when all the pus is oozing out of his body, and Sanatana Goswami is pleading, please don't do that. Mahaprabhu is telling, I am a sannyasi, I am supposed to go beyond this Dvandva. Not see that this is nice and this is not nice. This is advantageous, this is not advantageous. I am supposed to go beyond that. Because actually there is nothing like advantage and disadvantage in this world. There is not, you understood, na? That is a perspective which the traditional sannyasi has, where he goes beyond it. Right? Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, when we say that we don't know what is good and what is bad, but we say that the whole Bhagavad Gita is spoken that what is good and what is bad. Basically, so we say that when one has a one-pointed focus, so this means that in life, when we make different like choices are there, so we have to take a decision which is like for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna, which we take. So basically, we have a focus in life, so we make a decision.
Yeah.
So, but to put it that what is good and what is bad is not known, then it is not proper to say
I'm
that.
not saying it is not known. I'm not saying Bhagavatam is saying here, the verse that I read, and CC also is saying that anything in the world that you do, see, please try to understand. Why did Krishna speak Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna? In one way we see it is to make him fight. But in another way, if you see, it is actually not like that. Bhagavad Gita is a book listing consequences. If you don't fight, this is what will happen. Avapcha vadamscha bahun. These people will all criticize you. And, bhavishyanti tavahita. Nindantas tava samartyam tato dukkha taram nukim. How it will be painful for you, Arjuna? If you fight, this will happen. Are you understanding? Bhagavad Gita is actually a book of consequences. Saying that everything has a consequence. Arjuna's decision not to fight had a consequence. What was the consequence? Frustration. Arjuna was frustrated. Please remember, Arjuna was not blissful, thinking that I made a decision, I will not fight, so I am now exceedingly happy. No. He was in pain. You understood? But did fighting not give him pain? Fighting also gave him pain. You understood the point, na? So any situation from Arjuna's perspective in the material world is never going to be good or bad like that, in a binary way. Yeah, but he chooses an option which is closer to dharma. That's the point. That is there. You have to choose an option which is closer to dharma. Now we are coming to that. In all these cases, it is like that. Now if you go back to all our examples, in all these cases, people chose an option closer to dharma. Shivaji sent Tanaji to fight, or Maharaj, he decided to, go to that sannyasi's funeral, or, he decided to go to the family who wanted support at the cost of the relation with the other person. You understood, na? You have to make a decision that you're anyway doing. That decision, it should be in dharma so that it has that ultimate, benefit to the world. But it is not that it will not give you good and bad. Good and bad दोनों आने वाले. And that bad you have to keep tolerating. See, Krishna is never telling Arjuna that once you fight, hey, life will be blissful for you. No, nothing. No guarantee. कुछ नहीं है. तुम्हारे बच्चे सब मर जाएंगे बस यही है. क्या consequence है? खतरनाक. Who will do that activity? Consequence खतरनाक ही है. ले धर्म के लिए ठीक है करो. You know. And ultimately Krishna puts it to Arjuna, puts the ball in his court only. Te chasi tata kuru. So we asked Govind Prabhu one question. What if Arjuna said, I will not fight? Krishna would have said, okay. The time factor in the material world will help you make decision at some other point in life. You understood, na? Krishna is very patient because there is eternal time na, with him to rectify the conditioned soul. तो कभी भी सुधरोगे तुम. उसका तुमका consequence रहेगा लेकिन. Arjuna not fighting also has a consequence. It's not without consequence. You understood, na? In that sense. So here what we are saying now, the next thing is that even qualities have a dvandva. Let's say for example, somebody says, I want to be very determined. Determination has a flip side, which is to become stubborn. That means a person who is very saying determined, the determination is a very thin line when he can become stubborn. Or somebody says, I'm very innocent. Innocence is a very good quality, but innocence can become foolish. Or it can become exploited. So it's a very good quality, innocence. But that has a flip side. In that good quality also there is a problem. The innocent man is exploited. But the man who is more sharper, he is not getting exploited. Innocent है, कोई भी पूछा करो दे देता है. वो innocent है ना, नहीं समझता उसको, बुद्धू है वो थोड़ा. बुद्धू हो जाता है वो, innocence बुद्धूपन हो जाता है कभी कभी. Flexibility. Somebody says I'm extremely flexible, Prabhuji, with my sadhana and everything. I am not at all, very fanatic. The way in voice they trained us to be. Somebody may say that, but then that can become watered down. Flexibility अच्छा लग रहा है, but then that can become watered down. There's a very thin layer. You understood, na? In qualities also there is dvandva. So somebody says I love someone very much, but in that love there is possessiveness. I love, just like a mother loves a son very much. After marriage she continues to love the same way. There is problem, right? The daughter-in-law wants to take control now. So now if the mother doesn't hand over the son, there is problem. Right? Detachment. Somebody says, Prabhuji, I am very detached. उसमें भी problem है, वो indifference हो जाते हैं फिर. Then people say, this fellow doesn't care only about anything. He is एकदम, is in his own world. That means even qualities have a dvandva. Qualities also have another side, a flip side. Correct? So you have to work very hard to maintain the balance. Okay. Now just actually, now just 2 more slides. फिर हो गया मेरा. ये watch जो है ना 15 minute आगे. I don't know why Shaunak Rishi Prabhu created another dvandva for me unnecessarily. As if the dvandva in the world is not enough. 15 minute आगे रखा है घड़ी को. 8:15 ही हुआ है. Yeah, so the last point is working for Krishna or doing activity of dharma. Will that not create dvandva? उसमें भी dvandva है ही. Just like for example, Yudhishthir lied in the Mahabharata, right? To Drona, saying Ashwatthama is dead. And finally what happens? Yudhishthir experiences hell. Yudhishthir is taken to hell, right? We all know that. He is taken to hell. Why is he taken to hell? Because he lied. Of course, we give a Vaishnava explanation that he hesitated to speak the truth. But that is more in terms of the emotion of a devotee. Vyasa doesn't explain like that, right? Vyasa says that he lied, that's why he went. That's a straight thing. The point is, even for Krishna, when there is an activity done for the sake of dharma, absolute truth, you have to take that direction. See, why this is very important to know. Many times we imagine that Krishna के लिए क्या तो उसका consequence नहीं है. वैसा नहीं है. वो consequence आएगा. Correct? Consequence है उसका. But we are ready to take the consequence. True devotee is someone who takes the consequence himself. See, Yudhishthir doesn't ask Krishna, hey Krishna, you only told me to lie. अभी मेरे को नरक दिखा रहे हो. क्या चल रहा है ये? He doesn't say that. He takes it. He takes responsibility of that consequence himself. Or like Pandavas, we gave example already. Basic point is this, we have discussed many times before. Material laws are never violated by Krishna. Krishna only created material laws, right? Just because we become a devotee and we take a... Just like for example, there are many devotees who take a decision that they will sleep very less. For the sake of Krishna only. They will chant more rounds. They will do something. That will come with a consequence only, right? That will come with a consequence. You cannot say that because I did for Krishna, I will not have the consequence. No, material law will act. And you have to pay that, whatever. And you cannot then say, that's why we cannot become like Karna. What is the difference between Karna and Pandavas? Karna, when he was dying, he was questioning dharma. Saying that मैंने धर्म के लिए इतना किया, मैं इतना चैरिटेबल था, ये था, वो था, तब भी मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? Pandavas never did that. Pandavas lost all their children, everything, so many things, even they faced disaster. But they never questioned Dharma or Krishna. That is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. A non-devotee very easily questions God, saying that why God did to me so, though I was a nice person. We think that if you are a so-called nice person, you will not get the Dvandva reaction. Vaisa nahi hai. Material world mein, as long as you are there, you have to tolerate it. But Karna could not tolerate, so he started blaming Dharma. And that is considered, that's considered grinaspad. Matlab, that is considered bad from the eyes. That's considered actually low grade from the eyes of the Shastra. Correct? Okay, so just like we're giving some more examples. Just like, I mean, this is again in ISKCON history that there have been cases where some devotees in the past, they would steal from some shops, for the sake of Krishna. You understood? Like in Japan, there was one very famous Rolex watch. Something, I mean, people would just pick up some things, saying this is for Krishna because for the temple we need money. Yeah, it was stolen. So anything you do like that also, it has a consequence. You understood, na? Just because you do for Krishna, it is not without consequence. See, because it's a very thin line, that's why we have written Taliban next. Just like this Taliban people who are there, these jihadis, they murder, they kill, they rape, and they think that they will not get any consequence because they are doing this as a service to Allah. They think that they are all kafir, so by raping them or killing them, there is no consequence. See, please remember, ultimately it is the same concept. What is the concept? मैंने भगवान के लिए किया तो मेरे को रिएक्शन नहीं है. You understood ना? मैंने भगवान के लिए किया तो मुझे रिएक्शन नहीं है. लेकिन शास्त्र बोल रहे, ऑफ कोर्स वो एक्टिविटी तमोगुण में है. तमोगुण के एक्शन को भी रिएक्शन है, सत्वगुण के एक्शन को भी रिएक्शन है. रिएक्शन है लेकिन in the world nothing is without reaction. So this is the point here. So similarly even sarvadharman parityajya. So somebody may ask a question, फिर वो क्या हो गया फिर मा सुचा and like sarvadharman parityajya, what is that? मा में aham toam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami. So how does one explain that? Any thought? Anybody with any thought?
Not in this world.
I answered it quickly. Not in this world. In this world, reactions are all there only. Krishna is later, बाद में, right? Next life की बात है वो. Yeah, it is seen like that only. And even if it is not seen like that, from a true devotee's perspective, he doesn't want Krishna to take away the reaction and give him anything free. He wants to earn it himself. Like that. Yeah, that is another way of seeing.
Not in this life, can you?
Yeah, see, that's why prarabdha karma is there, na? Once things are there in this world, like see, Krishna said, aham toam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami. Then somebody may say, Yudhishthira lied for Krishna, why did he go to hell? Correct, na? See, that's why the point is, Krishna is ready to do that. But the devotee doesn't want that. Devotee says, true devotee, he says, I'll take the reaction. Because I did, na? Whatever I did, I'll take reaction for it. I'm ready to take reaction.
Those who are not devotees, how do they see it? They see it, this action. Krishna didn't take up that.
Reaction. Yeah, so unless they have heard from some proper devotee, they will remain perpetually confused only. वो तो उनको तो महा duality है फिर. They will find everything contradictory only. That's why people find everything in scripture contradictory, right? Because unless you learn it from a right source, it's extremely contradictory. You will not be able to get anything out of it. Tarko apratishta, you cannot understand. Mahajano, you have to come to a Mahajana and hear. Only then you will understand. Otherwise, it's all confusing.
Sarva dharma includes dharma also, right?
Yeah. Sarva dharma means all dharma. I heard one Vaishnava Acharya commentary saying Sarva dharma can be split in Sanskrit also as Sarva adharman parityajya. I mean, give up all lower kinds of activities and take shelter of me, which is the highest thing. That's it. Okay, but anyway, Sarva dharma means what kind of dharma you are expecting to give up?
Sanatan dharma. Sanatan dharma.
No, it is actually not like that. Culturally, it is never like that. Krishna never expects that you give up Sanatana dharma or you give up Varnashrama dharma. It is never to be given up. See, that verse is in the context of lower dharmas. That's why I said Sarva adharman parityajya. This is lower kind of things. Yeah, but again, see, yeah, I understood. It is basically in terms of lower dharma that Krishna is talking of. But my main point, and take shelter of pure devotion service. But the thing ultimately is that is for next life or it is for a future thing. Currently reactions are coming only for everything. Correct. Just like we gave an example early, Srila Prabhupada started Gurukul system. right? All intentions, everything good, but still there are some problems that happen, right? Are you getting the point? Correct, na? Materially, there are some consequences that are coming, which one has to bear only. That's how it is. Material world is like that.
But somebody will say that Krishna is doing this because he wants something else. Haan, yeah. He wants to. Matlab anything. Matlab people may include, like we say that Krishna has some other higher purpose for this. Even if something like Gurukul was set up. So whatever.
We can sit and say that because our kids have not gone through that. You understood, na? That's why we can sit and say that. But if somebody's kid has gone through a system where he felt a lot of trouble, then you cannot say that. See, many times what happens, that is why there is a difference between news and experience. Like we read in the news, 100 people died in a train accident. For us, it's a news. We can theorize on it. That karma hai, पिछले जन्म का. लेकिन हम या हमारे फैमिली मेंबर अगर वो ट्रेन में फंस गए और मर गए, तो बात अलग है. It's an experience.